Now let's dive into the demonstration. I will show you how OpsRamp can be used to identify, manage and resolve an issue within the IT environment. In this scenario, we have previously discovered a Lightsail AWS instance using the OpsRamp AWS integration, and this is now being monitored using our native monitoring. Through our monitoring, we have determined that the SQL service has stopped running, and this is now impacting a critical business service. So how does OpsRamp help with fixing this issue? In this case, I have received two emails. One references the alert generated by the monitoring when the service has stopped, and the other a semi-automated remediation process that has been triggered when this condition occurs. Let's work through resolving this issue by initially looking at the first email received, which was sent when the alert occurred. The email content shown is provided out of the box, but of course can be configured to meet your specific requirements. It would be great if a resource name gave all the context needed to be able to ascertain the business impact. But as we know, resource naming standards invariably don't make this obvious. OpsRamp, as a service-centric AIOps platform, enables organizations to tie resources to business and application services. And as can be seen in this email, this issue is affecting the financial services. So let's work on resolving this issue by first drilling into the alert shown in the email. One of the things we have concentrated on in the platform is actionability by enabling the users to take action on events in many ways. From this view, we can see the details of the alert, i.e. the component, monitor description, the metric, etc., which has raised the alert. The history of the alert, i.e. how many times has this occurred in the last, say, days, weeks? Is it a recurring problem? And have we done any automation in the back end to try and fix this in the past? And also, if any incidents have been created against the resource. And as we can see here, again, there's quite a few incidents that have been created against this resource, which may indicate that this is an issue that we've seen before and is a recurring issue. So if you go back to the details screen, another thing that we can see here is the impacted service groups. So immediately we get an indication from a business perspective of the business services that are being affected by or impacted by this issue with the SQL Server. We can also run commands directly from the alert by clicking on the icon up here. So for instance, if we want to make sure that what the alert is telling us is in fact the case, if for some reason we don't trust the monitoring that's taking place, we can go into here and run the services command, which will then go to the resource and look at the state of each service. You can see here, fourth line down is the SQL Server. If we tab across, you can see indeed this is in a stop state. So we're pretty sure at this stage that this is where the issue is occurring, and the alert that's been raised is a sensible alert. So in addition to running commands, we can also run a VPN session directly to the host to gather some more information by clicking on the icon shown in the screen now. So this allows us to run an RDP session directly to the agent without the need for a VPN connection. And similarly, when we're running commands, we do not need a VPN connection to do those either. So if we click on the link, we can just give that some name. So, why we're doing this. So we say SQL Server issue and select the credentials that we want to connect with. Now, these credentials that I'm selecting here are stored in the OpsRamp credential store, which is fully encrypted. But you can also link out to an external credential store if necessary. So in this case, we're going to launch this RDP session, and this will log in to the console for that particular resource. Now, all of our RDP sessions are audited and recorded. So you have a full audit trail. You can go back into the recording, you can play it back. So you can see what a user did while they were in this session, in the RDP session. So I'll just let that come up, and as you can see, it's logging in now. So if we go back to the alert side, okay. So what we've configured here, just for demo purposes more than anything, is the fact that we can have our machine learning engine recommend to a user, as we can see here down in the alert, that an incident be raised for this particular alert. Now, this recommendation gives you the priority, the assignment group, business impact, etc., that should be raised when you raise the incident, or should be filled out when you raise the incident, rather. Also, it references some knowledge articles which are automatically attached when the incident gets raised. So people can immediately reference these knowledge articles and maybe help with speeding up the process to get this resource and business service back up. So we're going to raise that incident because we know that the SQL server is down. We know there's an issue with it. We confirm that by logging on to the server and running the command from the alert. So now let's go and create the incident. So this incident, as I said, is pre-filled with the values recommended by the OpsQ bot. And we're just going to save that away, which will then go away and create the internal incident within OpsRamp. So just on that part, OpsRamp has an internal incident management system that we can use, or operations can use, without the need to have to link out or switch out to another console for an external ITSM system like ServiceNow or Freshservice or one of the others. That's not to say that we don't link and integrate with external ITSM systems. And in fact, in this system, we have got that integration, which I'm going to show you now into ServiceNow. So if we click on the incident, okay, like any other incident system that you have, you can enter conversational elements in here to say that we're actually doing something. So that's what we're going to do now. So this operator has picked up this case. So he's going to say, we're now working on this to get it resolved. Okay, and we're going to submit this as open. So that means the incident is open, it's being progressed. And the comment has now been added to say, we're working on it. Now in the background, the integration has been taken place into ServiceNow to also raise a new incident into the ServiceNow side. And this we can see here by the fact that we've got short description recommended incident by OpsQ bot. Now that could be different depending on how you've got the system configured. You can see that it's moved to in progress. And if we go into the incident, to keep everything synchronized, you'll see as we move down, we've got the full description from the alert that we had within the alert added into the description for the incident. And also we've got this note here that came from the operator taking control of that incident within OpsRamp. And likewise, if somebody used to add a work note into the ITSM incident, that would be reflected back into the conversational area of the incident within the OpsRamp system. So that means the operations team can work purely within the OpsRamp system, but you've still got that record of what's occurring within your primary ITSM system, such as ServiceNow or Freshservice. Okay, so now we've raised the incident, we want to now start dealing with the alert and dealing with the issue a little bit more. And maybe to do that, we need to go in and look at what this resource has, what this resource contains. So directly clicking in the alert on the resource, you can go in and look at more detail about that resource, what's happening with it. For instance, is there any alerts active? We know we've got one, which is to do with the SQL server. But we've also found additional occurrences through the monitoring that's in place for strings within, say, a log file monitor. This is just looking under IIS, I think. Okay, so, depending on the monitoring in place, you might have more than the critical alert we're dealing with. You could also have warning alerts that are outstanding as well. But to help the operations team, deal with this issue, we also supply some more information about the server, such as, detailed attributes about the OS that it's running, about, the hardware that's actually exists on that server. So you can see here, we've got the BIOS information, we've got information about, the CPU resources, the memory, etc., that you can see on this side. We also have some information about whether this resource is linked into an external resource ID, which is in this case coming to or from ServiceNow. Additional to that, we also have areas around the MS SQL side. So a quick, easy dashboard to look at. This is just gathering information through the standard OpsRamp SQL monitor, okay, which is defined in the monitors area within here. So these are all of the monitors that we've got running that have been assigned either automatically or manually to this particular resource. And then each metric will be visible within the metrics tab, and you can see how the system is performing over time, either from an 8-hour period or maybe even through to, say, a week or a month or last year. Really good information for an operator to understand what's happening with this server, what's been going on with this server, and what the historical processes and trends are within this particular server. Okay. Additional to the monitoring side, we also have capabilities around patching. So again, very easy to see from the one central resource whether we are compliant with patching baselines or whether we've got any missing patches on the server that could relate to the issue that we're seeing here with the SQL server. This isn't the case at the moment, but as you can see, we do have one patch that most likely does need to be applied, and that's something that we can do as an automation process external to what we're looking at here. Okay, so that gives the user a lot more information about the server that we've got the issue with. Okay, but also gives an operator a little bit more information about how to get on and fix this issue. Now, in this case, we've been looking at this from the customer or the user receiving an email that's telling them that something's happened on a particular resource, which they need to go and look at. Now, this isn't the only way that OpsRamp can communicate to an individual user or to a group of users that there is actually an issue occurring somewhere. So let's consider the use of what we call dashboards. So if we go to the financial services dashboard, we can see that this is indicating that financial services application has an availability issue. Now, I'll just take a couple of minutes to go over the rest of the screen and then just tell you what we're seeing here. So first of all, as I said, the financial services application has an issue at the moment denoted by the red X, and it's been up over the last month for approximately 83%, based on how we determine availability within OpsRamp. So obviously that's not great, and most likely needs somebody to go and investigate why this is so low and whether we've had recurring issues over a period of time. It gives you a breakdown of the sub-services, if you like, within these. So we've got one that is down and two that are okay. And this can be seen more in the service status widget down here, which is telling us that actually our main issue with the financial services application at the moment, or business service, is to do with the customer portal. Okay, and I'll show you how we can drill down into more details on that in a minute. The other areas are around alert trends. How many alerts are we seeing for this particular service, related to the underpinning infrastructure elements, and then also maybe an indication of how is that portal really performing from a transaction analysis side. So here we're looking at a synthetic transaction that we've got configured within OpsRamp to go and look at how a portal is performing from a response time, minimum, maximum, latest response, and then also how are those individual elements within that synthetics availability resource group performing as well. So you can see we've still got this one unavailable. So let's drill down into the actual service availability. So this brings up a service map. So these are defined within OpsRamp. And what we're looking at here is a representation of the business service through to maybe sub-business services, so customer portal, insurance, savings and investment. And these are the top level ones, are really your logical layers, if you like to think about that. that represent business and technical services. Now, as you can see here, we've got this impact that's happening from the EMEA databases. We've also got a potential impact that's coming, or degraded impact that's coming from the networks. But we've also got other elements within this financial services service map that indicates the underpinning resources that support financial services. So this is very important from an understanding of those elements that could be or could have an effect on the financial services business application. So before we go in and look at the SQL server in particular, let's go and have a look at a little bit more detail around some of the other areas, so such as storage and network. Okay, so here we have a few resources which are determined, that related to NetApp. If we go into one of these services, you can see we have information around, first of all, a dashboard for the NetApp cluster itself. So giving some high level information around how that cluster is performing. So from a storage capacity, what's available, what's being used, some of the disk information about how the disks are being used and utilized within that particular cluster, and also down to aggregates, etc. Now, one of the things we often get asked by people and operators as representing this is that, I've got my own specific NetApp monitor and solution that I can go to get this type of information. So why do I need it within OpsRamp? And a really simple answer to that is that if you have everything in one place, so we've got this all within the confines of the OpsRamp console, you don't have to keep doing the swivel chair activities from looking from one solution to another solution, and then trying to tie the two together. So we're bringing all this information, we're doing all the monitoring, and more importantly, we're also getting all of the alerts in a central location so we can act on those alerts, understand alert correlation, and understand how things relate to each other. So making it easier for an operational group to understand those relationships and to act on those relationships in accordance with any issues that occur. Okay. So going back to my service map, we mentioned the network side. So from a network resource viewpoint, again, we'll just go on to the resources tab here. We've obviously got a lot of issues around some of our network devices within this system. But if you look at the little icon to the left of the name, then what we're seeing here is the topology. So if we click on this icon here, this brings up a topology map of that particular device I've just clicked on. This is all done automatically through our discovery of, in this case, network devices. So we're looking for, neighbors, CDP, LLDP, protocols, etc., to be able to understand how the network switch relates to other devices within your environment. And as you can see here, we've got a relationship here between switch 2. We're looking at switch 1, which is related to switch 2, which also has a relationship down to an ESX server. So if we clicked on this link here, for instance, it will give you a bit of detail about, each device, the alerts they've got, whether there's any alerts outstanding, but also the link properties as well. Okay. And if we look at one of the ones that's, say, got an issue, which is from here down to a particular Linux server. Okay, so we've got an issue with this link that's occurring at the moment, denoted by the critical alerts that are happening on the switch itself. And again, the link properties give you some more information about what that link is and what it's performing. So this is really useful information for an operator to be able to understand those relationships and to very quickly understand where issues are occurring between devices that are related. Okay. Likewise, we can do stuff for VMware. We have a VMware integration that does a similar things in terms of understanding the relationships between the vCenters, the data center, the ESX hosts, the data stores underneath that. But very similar in essence to what we're doing from a network resource, but again, in context to what we're trying to do with the VMware on the hypervisor side. So in this case, yeah, this is just going down to the ESX server, but showing us all of the related VMs that are running under the CSX. So very quickly giving you that information about where things are running. And we also have the same visual representation that I showed you before. Okay. So going back to this one, there's one last area that I think is important to understand, which is the area around synthetics. So synthetics in our terms are things that we can do from a run from the public pods or run from the private pods, and they allow you to get a perception of the user experience both from outside your organization, but maybe internal to your on-premise organization as well. And this is really important in being able to understand how users are being affected by issues that occur within your infrastructure and possibly within your public clouds as well. Okay, so that's why synthetics are important, and we do all of the standard stuff around, HTTP, HTTPS. We also have some synthetic scripting capabilities and can do things around, DNS, SFTP, SSL certificate expiry dates, that sort of thing. So all really useful information and all information that operations need to be able to fix problems very quickly. So I showed you a little bit earlier the topology that we do for network devices, and there's two areas where this is really important. One is from an operational viewpoint, allowing the operators to understand how things are related. The other one is the OpsQ machine learning engine uses or can use topology to reinforce alert correlation. So in general, our machine learning uses what we call alert sequencing to understand how things occur and how alerts could be related to each other. So a great example of this would be, if you get a core switch going down, then you're going to get loads and loads of interface alerts coming through on that, and potentially alerts down on the servers or resources that are attached to those interfaces. Now, through our alert sequencing, we understand that these things are related together. So it basically gives the operators what we call an inference alert to work at, meaning that they can concentrate on dealing with the real situation rather than being lost in what used to be termed a sea of red. So this sea of alerts. So it greatly reduces the need for operations to look through loads and loads of alerts and work out the correlation themselves. And topology is used to reinforce that machine learning sequencing that we see as well. So at this point, we've shown how OpsRamp can service an issue, enable operators and application support to quickly identify what has happened. They can quickly identify the root cause and how to restore the service. This is great, but what if we could automate this remediation process? What if we could remove the need for operations to actually do anything, to actually get involved in this particular issue? So right at the beginning, I said we had 2 emails that had been created. You can see we've had a few more updates come in since then. But the first email that we came across was something called a task request. So this task has been initiated by an automation process, which we term process definition within OpsRamp. And this is basically being kicked off based on this SQL Server stop event or stop alert occurring within the system. So if we go to here, this opens up the task that has been initiated by the process definition. And at this stage, we can approve that task and get everything moving. Now, in reality, would we have an approval to restart a service on a Windows server? Possibly not. But this can very easily be removed from the process definition, which I'll show you in a minute. So we could fully automate that process from receiving the alert, triggering the remediation process, and then hopefully bringing back the SQL Server and getting everything back up and running with a very, very little impact to the end users. So this has already been set as approved. We need to just give it a time span. So yeah, some sort of idea of how long it took to get this done. And then we just mark it as resolved, and that will then release the automation in the background to go and restart the service. So while that's going, I will take you quickly into the process automation screen and show you what this process was. So if we go to process instances, you can see here, we've currently got this process instance that's in a running state. If we go into this particular one, assuming it's still active. Yeah, so I think it's now finished, which is why we've got a delay coming up. No. So it's sitting there waiting for the approval, which we've just done. Okay. So if we look at this very quickly, you've got this approval state here. Once the approval's been approved, once it's been accepted, then this will go off and run the restart service, which will talk to the end device and try and restart that service. And it will sit there, checking that the service status has been done and the restart's been done, and then finish once that's happened and update the alert. Okay. So if we go back now. Okay. So that's how, if we look from a proper process definition viewpoint, maybe a bigger screen, give you a better indication of what that is. But again, this is the same sort of thing in terms of being able to intercept an alert, run an approval, and then restart the service. Okay. You may have noticed, we also have a lot more process definitions and automations in place. Things from, going and running a triage based on an alert happening, going and gathering some more information, maybe running a script to go and gather that information from the resource. We also have the ability to link out to external automation tools such as Ansible. So, if you've already got Ansible in place, we can certainly leverage that and make use of that through our process definition when we see alerts happening or resources added or incidents happening within the system. Okay, so let's just have a quick recap on what we've seen in the short demo. We've seen the automated discovery of on-premise and cloud resources. How OpsRamp can link out to your on-premise devices through standard discovery using SNMP, using WMI, SSH discovery, but also using targeted integrations through specific APIs, so through like NetApp, VMware, etc. But we can also auto-discover public cloud resources in AWS, GCP, Azure, and Alibaba, and soon Oracle Cloud. So, those sort of things, bring all that information into the common platform. Once we've discovered the resources, we can then also auto monitor them. So based on configuration within the system, you can apply monitoring templates automatically to resources as they're discovered. So as soon as you're up and running, monitoring's in place and everything can be managed. We've also taken a quick look at synthetics. Why are synthetics important? They give that sort of user perspective, not just looking at it from an infrastructure viewpoint. As we said, the layering of monitoring, the alert correlation aspect, being able to leverage OpsRamp's machine learning for alert sequencing, but also being able to reinforce that through our topology and the data that we bring into the system. So the big data lake that we have behind the OpsRamp platform. Okay, for both our native alerts, but also for alerts or events that you've got integrated from maybe external systems. And we have over 100 plus external integrations to monitoring systems, Nagios, Zabbix, etc., but also to APM, application performance management systems such as AppDynamics and Dynatrace. So the intelligent escalation, notification, and incident management with our out-of-the-box integrations to ITSM systems, such as ServiceNow and Freshservice, but also to collaboration systems such as Slack or MS Teams. And the ability to automate the remediation through scripts and processes. So basically, we can have a zero-touch remediation process. So from the alert being found, identified, the issue being identified, to remediation without the need for any operator or support requirement. Okay, so thank you for taking the time to listen to this video today. And if you need more details, please visit opsramp.com. Thank you for your time.